Hello everyone and welcome back to The Flash for the last time, episode 23, the finale, and we're going to be starting with a celebration because there's no particle accelerator exploding for the first time this season. It does not remind you, well it does, but we don't see the shot. Not once throughout the whole episode. Okay, I don't have any confetti or anything with me, just edit it all in. Yes, let's go! I'm still repping the Flash shirt, but it's extremely cold here where I am right now, and I'm freezing to death. But we're still in the Flash spirit, and this episode is a banger, okay? The way that this episode ends, let's get straight into it. Full spoilers, obviously. No particle accelerators exploding anymore, which brings the total to just the start of every fucking episode to remind you, in case you weren't watching, that the fucking particle accelerator exploded. Bang, count of 1. 17 seconds into the episode, only 17 seconds before they show you the particle accelerator exploding again. Another one. The particle accelerator fucking explodes. Change that count. The particle accelerator explodes 14 seconds in. Change that counter. We have another particle accelerator exploding. You know how it goes. So, the first thing that happens in this episode is the particle accelerator goes kablooey. Because it didn't freaking... So, of course, the particle accelerator explodes. We can change the counter. But what happens next? Well, the particle accelerator explodes. We get it. Particle accelerator explodes 14 seconds in. Damn, that's a number higher than 3. We can add another one to the tally. Particle accelerator explodes. Particle accelerator explodes again. Just because, you know, after you see it explode, like 10 seconds later, they need to remind you that it exploded again. Particle accelerator explosion. Add that to the counter. Particle accelerator explosion. But it doesn't stop there. We get the particle accelerator exploding again. And possibly a third time, just going episode and talking about an episode. So we start the episode with a fat, and I'm talking fat with P-H-A-T, fat particle accelerator explosion, because particle accelerator explodes. Particle accelerator explodes, change the count. Particle accelerator explodes. Particle accelerator explodes. Particle accelerator explosion to just particle accelerator explosion. But it doesn't stop there. Particle accelerator explosion. Particle accelerator, possibly a third time. Shit, I forgot the number. Hang on. It's hard to keep track of this shit. Alright? Which brings the total number to 26. We see the particle accelerator explode 26 times. That's 3 times more than there is episodes. Like there's 23 episodes, we see it 26 times. You know what I mean? You get it. And I'm over this gag, okay? We're not gonna talk about it anymore, except the fact that this whole episode has to do with the particle accelerator. Oh, fuck. This episode goes, it just starts. We deal with Barry confronting Thawne straight away. Why'd you kill my mom? All the questions. Thawne explains everything and why he did what he felt like he had to do because he was so frustrated in not being able to kill Barry when he was a kid, so he kills his mother instead, thinking if he faced a tragedy so big and so heavy he would never get over it and become the Flash. But in realizing he was trapped, he needed to create the Flash to get fast enough to bring him back to his own time. And Barry, man, he doesn't be the stoic hero that you think the CW would make him, that he's the alt-right boy. He's straight away bang at the glass window, I want to kill you so bad right now. It's a genuine jerk reaction from a young adult. But then Thawne offers him a deal before he leaves. Barry's gonna help him get back to the future. Barry, why would I help you get back to your own time? Because if you run fast enough, you can go back in time and save your mom from ever being killed. Reset the timeline entirely, and then the next 20-30 minutes of the episode is thinking on that, because that's a big deal. Stein and Ronnie show up and everyone's talking about it, because if he goes back, relationships are never formed. They never meet each other. He might not ever become the Flash. Things change so much if he goes back and tries to save his mom. The show is great because things like time travel, you thought you wouldn't get it in the first season, or it'd be way later, because like you're dealing with the highest stakes possible. Doing something like that leans into Flashpoint, which is something else we'll get to another day. But it's a big decision to make, and I'm glad that they took the time to talk about it and think about it. Surprisingly enough, Joe kind of goes along with the idea. His dad, not so much. He reckons you shouldn't do it. And the dialogue between Barry and his dad for the last episode, it's not real. The talking doesn't feel real. It feels like it's very meticulously done to make you cry. And it doesn't get me to cry there, but it has like these warm-ups. Like it feels like the show's going, here's a crying moment, here's a crying moment, here's a crying moment. It's gonna build because we want you to freaking cry. And so the show slowly takes you there instead of just trying to hit you with something heavy. If you're already in a bit of an emotional state with the characters in the show and then it hits you with something hard, you're likely to break. But then Barry talks to Iris and they're tearing up because he might not ever get to be with Iris or meet Iris or know her the way he did because his mum dying meant that he had to live with Joe and Iris. It's stuff you don't get in a normal TV show. You only get in a show with time travel and The Flash. So in terms of TV shows, it feels extremely unique, especially for the time that it came out. Cisco, he goes to talk to Thawne. Cisco talks to him about how his heart got ripped out in the other timeline. Then it clicks with Thawne. And then when Thawne says what's going on, it clicks with the audience because he knows that Cisco is a metahuman. Him being a metahuman makes sense of the plot holes that kind of came from earlier and how the hell Cisco would remember something from a timeline that doesn't exist. He can see through different timelines, he vibes. And then we get a scene with Barry and Joe talking. They had a talk earlier and Joe's like, you should do it, save your mum. But now hearing that with this in the Particle Accelerator, he'll only have 2 minutes to save his mum. And if he's not back, he could open a wormhole that destroys not just all of Central City, but the entire planet. It's pretty high stakes. And this talk feels real. It really feels like Barry isn't there, CSI guy, detective, adult. It's just him as a kid not knowing if he's fast enough or can really do this, or if he should be doing this at all. And it's a real father-son moment. It feels real, not as constructed as earlier, so it's getting you on the heartstrings more. I swear, if you're feeling emotional, you could tear up like 8 times in this episode. And then this feels a little bit out of left field, but Caitlin Lane marries Ronnie outside of Star Labs. It's a very small, quick thing, and it feels very weird that they would do that right there, knowing that all of this in their own existence could be erased and none of this will matter anyway. I know they've got to kind of just keep living in their own timelines. What else are they going to do? But it serves as just Barry being there watching it going, I could erase all of this, I could change everything. Should I do it? It just feels a little out of place. Barry then says his goodbyes and he runs, and Thawne says the run Barry run thing, but it's the first time it feels weird here. But when Barry runs and he rips a hole through time, we see alternate timelines. We see Killer Frost, we see the Flash Museum, we see so many Easter eggs and crap and potential things that could happen in the future of the show. You get beyond excited, especially if you're a fan of the Flash. But then Barry makes it. He's back in his house. You can hear the Flash and all that stuff happening downstairs. And he gets down into a room right next to the room where his mum dies. He goes to open the door. He's gonna save his mum. And then Flash, the original Flash, because original Flash never had his mum die and just became the Flash. God, is this confusing? I hope you're keeping up with me okay. He's there battling Reverse Flash like he normally would and sees the other Barry, or he knew that he was gonna be there, but throws his hand up, turns his head, no. And no words are spoken, but it's enough to know there's some more dire consequences if that happens, and that Flash and that Barry was more aware of it. It's interesting that we never ever get to see more of the original Barry. Like in the whole show in general, that we never get to see much of the original Flash. Because everything, this whole show is an alternate timeline. But in seeing that his hand is up, Barry's looking, he wants to save his mum, and then hearing that she's about to die, he's closing the door and on this shot, and it's great. He has to sit there in the next room and hear it all over again. And then the show freaking breaks you. And it breaks me every goddamn time. He goes out, he sees his mum as she's dying, tells him, hey, it's me from the future, and I just want to let you know that me and Dad are okay, even though none of this makes sense. And they're both crying, and I'm crying, and you are crying, and it's out of hand, okay? Give me some fucking tissues, and it's powerful. This moment breaks me. Maybe it's because you got the other ones that build you up to it, but it hits hard. Meanwhile, back in the show's main timeline, this is confusing. Like, we need numbered timelines. Thawne's there, ready to go in his time machine. He sees Jay Garrick's helmet fly through the wormhole, and everyone's like, what's that? Thawne's like, that's my cue to go, and that's another cool Easter egg of what could possibly happen. As Thawne's basically booting up his time machine to go back, Barry comes back through the portal, destroying the time machine, and just in time they close the wormhole so that it doesn't become catastrophic. And the Flash and the Reverse Flash duel it out in the end of the episode. And these guys are fighting, Thawne is vicious, and then Chatty, Eddie Thawne, the Chad himself does the most chaddest Chad move I have ever seen. Knowing that he is a relative of Thawne, the Reverse Flash Thawne, he shoots himself in the chest, killing himself, which meant that Thawne would never exist, or the Reverse Flash would never exist. He starts glitching out, but then the problem is, yeah, he stopped him, but now there is a huge paradox, and in a paradox happening because the Flash can't become the Flash that he is there if Thawne never existed, to then go back in time and then get stuck back in time to then become like, it doesn't work. There's a huge paradox in the timeline. Nothing works, nothing makes sense. What happens? The black hole wormhole thing opens right back up. And people got their theories about whether that's Jay Garrick trying to get through, or Flash is going to maybe get taken to a different universe. What's going to happen? I believe it's just the paradox. And it doesn't seem completely out of the ordinary that because there's this paradox now, the whole world's just going to get consumed and destroyed. This whole timeline will get obliterated because it doesn't make sense. It's not the original timeline, so the stakes feel so high. And they make sense within the world that the Flash has created. So the wormhole opens back up. They all exit Star Labs. They see it, and it is sucking up the entire city. It's broken way too big. Stein is there saying, it can't be stopped. It's too big. It's impossible. And Flash, Steinman, it can't be stopped. So Barry, what does he do? He suits up, man, puts that cowl on, runs up of buildings as they're falling apart, flying up towards the wormhole, with Blake Neely's theme swinging in harder than it ever has before. And you're just wanting to scream at your TV, run Barry, run. The man goes for it, and I live for moments like this in TV and movies. He runs straight up, flies up towards the wormhole, and it ends. The show ends right there in one of the most Vince Gilligan-esque endings like Breaking Bad I've ever seen. It's as big of a stinger as it was the first time I saw it when I was 14. The show ends on such a high note with such adrenaline and emotion flowing because you've had to cry and now you're cheering, that it makes you want to grade the whole show higher than it actually is, but I have to remain vigilant. This episode alone would get a 9 out of 10. It's that good. It's enough that it makes the whole show worth watching to get to those moments. With all the downtime and the slower episodes, the cheesy dialogue, and the sometimes pretty shoddy CGI, I have to give The Flash Season 1 an extremely solid 7 out of 10. But it will have Blake's seal of approval as a must watch if you're a TV fan. It is great. Again, I might be riding the hype of the last episode, a lot of us were, and it just ends that good. So yeah, it may have cheesy dialogue, but it's enough to get me to cry. It's doing something right. It's enough that when it ends, you just are mad that you would have to wait a year for the next season or whatever the hell they were planning to do with it. When it ends and you're baited that much, you are going to riot if there is not a season 2 announcement. But this season was that good that people are still sticking around for the later seasons that are garbage because this season made them care about those characters so goddamn much. That is The Flash. I thought I would have more things to say to wrap it up, but you've heard me episode by episode everything I've had to say about The Flash. There's not much that I've missed, but I do want to say that I'm going to be changing up this format because I want to give shows reviews episode by episode because TV shows deserve that. They're having so much time spent doing each episode with different things, different people working on different episodes. There's so much that goes into it. There's so much to appreciate and acknowledge rather than talking about 23 hours and condensing that into a 5 or 7 minute video. I just don't think it does it justice. But in the way that YouTube works and the way the platform works and the way that TV shows are produced, there's so much that I cannot possibly keep up with it doing it episode by episode. So when I talk about season 2, because I don't want to finish talking about this show just yet, expect that to probably be in the entire season in bulk in one video, but expect it to be longer. However, I'm not ditching the format entirely. I'm going to cover things like the Marvel shows episodically because they come out weekly, so there'll still be a bit of that. And I will do it for shows that I think really deserve that time, that I can invest my time into to do these videos for you guys. Anyway, thank you so goddamn much. If you have watched all 23 episodes of The Flash and me talking about every episode of The Flash, you are a hero. You are an unsung champion. If you haven't already, consider subscribing. A lot of my YouTube stats tell me that none of you guys are subscribed, but you just watch. So think about it. If you're not subscribed and you keep coming back watching things, you might as well just subscribe, and then I'll be there constantly in your feed. You won't have to search for it again. Anyway, wherever you are in the world, I hope you're doing good. I hope life is treating you well and it's not sucking, and I will see you guys next time. Bye guys.